And I am also here to supply you with more information about this upcoming run. It's Badamja, it's Goron Mines RTA, it's The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Awoo? Take it away.
How's it going, guys? My name is Badamja, and I'm going to be speedrunning The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. And I'm going to be running a category called Goron Mines RTA. And basically what this category is you start from a new file, and we get into Goron Mines as fast as possible, and basically just try to beat Goron Mines as quickly as we can. So yeah, I'm here with my commentators, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
I'm Morgan. I'm Morgan. I speedrun this game usually on GameCube. I've done mostly 90%. I've done a little bit of all dungeons and the infamous low percent category. Kind of been taking a break from the game recently, but slowly getting back into it. Great to be here today with all of you.
Yeah, I'm Madeline. I speedrun 90% on GameCube.
Yeah, sweet. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. All right, okay. I'm gonna start making a new file. I could do a custom name, but unfortunately, with a trick that we're going to be doing a minute into the run, it's actually going to reset our file names. So we can't reap any benefits of any custom names, unfortunately. So I'm going to start out with the defaults. And do you guys want to say anything, or are we ready?
Let's go.
Yeah, we can talk more during the run, I think.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, then we're going to get started. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yep, this is going to start like most Twilight Princess runs. We're, instead of talking to Fado, we're going to go left on the Wii version and pick up the rock. We are on the Wii version and not the GameCube version. It's mostly the same. The main differences are it's widescreen and everything in the game world is mirrored. I suppose we're on the game version because it's the one that Badamja is very good at. He's the current world record holder by several minutes, and so far the only person to beat Wii any percent in under 3 hours. Hopefully this skate clip goes well. It didn't. That happens a lot. This can be kind of frustrating. There we go. Now what we're going to do here is a trick called Back in Time. Probably some of you have heard about this. We're resetting the console and voiding on the same frame to gain control of Link on the title screen. We void out again, we'll be able to make a save here. And when we reload that save, we'll be put in Faron Woods, and we'll have a few items and story flags that'll be important later. We'll get the Hero's Clothes, which is largely irrelevant. We'll get the Orden Sword, which is somewhat useful. And we will get the flag for having tamed Epona after clearing Elden Twilight, a thing that we are not going to do in this run, which will be very useful a few minutes later. But first, we have to run some errands.
I want to answer a question in chat. Someone asked, between the GameCube Wii and Wii U version, which is the fastest? Technically, out of those, the fastest would be, for this category, the Wii version played on the Wii U. But Badamja's playing it on a Wii. The difference in load times is very negligible between them. But the Wii version specifically, Wii 1.0, which Badamja is running, has some glitches that will come up later that save a lot of time in this category over the GameCube version. And if you have any other questions in chat, feel free to ask them. We love to talk about this game.
Yeah, to clarify,
I thought as of the reroute there was only one Wii-specific glitch.
Yeah, the route is exactly the same on Wii and GameCube, except for there's some minor differences. Like, as you can see, you might have been able to see that I actually reset my game before saving during Back in Time. That's only on the Wii version. A few minor things like that. I didn't roll in bit after doing Back in Time. If you see the GameCube version, they start rolling immediately upon gaining control of Link. Right. If I try to do that,
if you try that on Wii, it crashes.
Exactly, it crashed, and that is actually going to pose a problem later because we're going to be doing Back in Time again, and I'm going to need to press A, and I'm going to have to figure out how to do that without crashing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more when we get there. It's strange for this category that Wii is the fastest console. For most categories, GameCube is faster because of glitch availability, but that actually won't really come up in this round, as we'll discuss when we get to it.
And Wii in general is just faster, has faster loads and less lag than the GameCube version.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, we've gotten the small key in North Farron Woods, and we're going to go through to save Tallow. As a low percent runner, I'm contractually obligated to inform you that there is another way to get through that gate. It just takes about an hour and 13 minutes, which is, longer than the estimate, so we won't be doing it.
And I'm going to jump attack into this cutscene trigger just to get a little bit more distance. Because when you're in the air, maintain your momentum after entering a cutscene. Save about a second doing that. Gonna try my best with these rolls up the slope. Unfortunately, I messed up a little bit and dropped a roll. And how this game works is if you're rolling up a slope and you chain them, you're good. But if you miss a roll by a few frames, then every roll after that on the slope is going to be slower. So chaining rolls is very important.
Yep, and Madeline, you could probably talk a little more about roll chaining here.
Yeah, in a bit. There's a bunch of stuff coming up for that. There's a lot of different techniques to getting up to full roll speed quickly, and then after that, it's a lot about just maintaining that full speed. And as Badanch mentioned, it's kind of hard to do on slopes because even dropping a roll by like 1 frame means you'll never be able to get back up to the full speed you were once at until you clear the slope.
Anyways, continuing the chores here, we've got to herd the goats. We skip a lot of bumbling around in Orden Village by doing that gate clip and the back in time save, but we can't skip this.
So goats are a bit
We do have to herd
RNG,
the goats.
not too RNG. They always start in the same spot, but they kind of react to you differently each time. They have a different notice radius and a different speed they run at when they noticed you. So a lot of goats is kind of playing reaction, but we have a somewhat consistent way of going around them, get them in 23 seconds has been MJ, which is a pretty good time.
Pretty good.
Yeah, especially considering that one that was a little bit uncooperative. That's very good.
Only one Howard. We call those Howards when we have uncooperative goats. But honestly, not too bad. It could go a lot worse than that.
So the RTA record is 15. So
Yep.
yeah, almost sub 15 is really good, really optimized. But
Anyway, since the game thinks that we have tamed Epona after beating Elden Twilight, we can actually now go right into Bo's house and get the iron boots. You'll notice that this cutscene talking to Bo is a little strange. We have to explicitly talk to Bo for every line of dialogue. This is actually relevant to the recent Goron Mines RTA reroute we were talking about. Do I want to explain that now? Do we want to explain that later? It's probably better to explain that later.
we can explain it like maybe Master Sword cutscene. Something like Goron Twilight. Yeah, this cutscene's a little broken, but we still can advance all the text. And I'm gonna say yes to enter the fight, but then I'm gonna say no when he asks me if I want to know the rules. So
we already know the rules. He's done this before,
So this is basically weighted rock, paper, scissors. It is pure RNG. Nothing you can do to make it less RNG. So the fastest thing to go for here is a slap. You have a 50% chance of getting a slap on this first one.
Okay. Not great, but not the worst RNG. No, a lot worse than that.
Yep.
And we have to beat him twice. I'm gonna have to fight him again. Hope the second phase goes well.
And to push him off in one cycle, you got to mash at 11 hertz, which is very hard to do on a Wiimote.
Yeah,
It's very hard. It's not easy to do on a GameCube controller.
That's true. Yeah.
It's even harder on a Wii remote.
Yeah, not the greatest RNG. Yeah, it's hard to do on a Wiimote just because the controller shake is a little bit awkward, and where the button is too.
And the A button is just a little bit more resistant as well.
Yeah. So not the greatest RNG, but also not the worst.
Yeah, it can go way worse than that. You can lose like minutes in this.
Yeah.
You can lose to Bo if you're unlucky enough. But yeah, we've got the iron boots. As I said, previous versions of this route would actually delay the iron boots. They needed it to get into Goron Mines later, but we have a different way of doing that now.
I'm going to open this door on the left because it is almost a second faster on the walking out of the house animation. Just a fun fact about most of the double doors in this game.
That's one you can try out at home, I'm sure. Just walk through the right door. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm
You're
sure
secret.
all of you knew this 50 rupees was
I
here.
will side hop here.
Ah,
You didn't get it? Oh, damn.
You've made me look bad.
Yeah, there actually is no rupee there.
Yeah, I was.
We were mistaken. There it is.
There we
There
go.
it is.
Yeah, that one can be a little bit finicky.
I forget what the vanilla where you're supposed to get that is. It's not
think
like
you're
that.
You take a cucco or something?
Yeah, it must be.
The one use of the side
Yeah.
hop slash in any category.
That might be true.
Yeah, as you notice, I actually didn't get any rupee text from the rupee there. And that is because I collected it in midair. That's why I did that side hop slash. Like the safer way is you just spin the grass and get the rupee. But in an effort to save a few seconds and not get the text at all, I side hopped and collected the rupee midair.
Also, that
Yeah,
one
we're now
rupee
going through-
you just picked up is the only unavoidable rupee in the game.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that's true. Anyways, that's the hole that turns you into a wolf. Very plot important cutscene coming up. We'll want to make sure to watch all of that to ensure that we
Yep.
know what's happening.
What? Oh,
Yeah, I know.
right. It's a really cool
Yeah, you
trick.
can skip like most of the cutscenes in this game.
It's called Box Breaker. This cutscene, when it ends, it releases you from the chain. So if you time like a perfect B attack, you can break the box before the cutscene ends, and it saves like 3 frames or so on entering the hole.
Yep.
Yep.
Then there's a
And
spin
looks like
attack here
Dan
for
just
swag.
Did get that?
Ah, no swag.
Yep, that is 1 frame where you can input a spin attack and it does nothing.
So yeah, Wolf moves pretty fast actually, very slightly faster than top roll speed. When you are at a
And
full
if I
dash.
try to enter the cutscene on the left. Ooh, I got it.
Nice.
Fast
Nice.
cutscene.
It's a
that was
relatively
pretty
rare
finicky.
time save, yeah.
Yeah. I believe if you enter that cutscene in just the right spot, the game thinks you're on the ground, so it plays that cutscene a little bit early and stays about half a second.
Yeah, there's like 1 spot where you can be in the cutscene trigger, but still on the ground of that like upstairs ledge there, and it starts it.
Oh, Squeeble. So there's a cool tech coming up
there's-
after this chain pull. So the damage is going to dash and then B attack immediately, and that serves 2 purposes. 1, the B attack makes him jump less height, so he hits the ground sooner. And 2, the B attack actually cancels the dash if you input it right after the dash input. And it'll basically allow him to dash immediately again when he hits the ground. It'll get rid of the cooldown that would normally be there before you could dash again. That's really good actually, because like normally when you hit the ground after like a jump as Wolf, you're going to be walking really slowly until you can dash again. So if you're doing it, it's called a dash cancel. Anytime that sort of situation comes up where you're going off a ledge, you'll be saving a lot of time on the movement. Nice.
Yep, and we saw him try to avoid landing in the water there to skip that text box, but didn't quite make it.
I didn't quite get it. Okay, that one's a little bit precise. Basically, there's a kind of a rectangular trigger there that I try to hit, and if you hit that, Midna thinks that you've already fallen in the water, and so she'll let you do the Midna jumps next time you come around. But I did miss it, unfortunately, and fell in the water. Now here,
Thankfully, the text box doesn't take very long.
I missed it.
So every single Midna jump where there's Midna text before the jump, there's 1 frame where you can input the Midna jump and do it before she moves out to the spot. There's also another 1 framer right there where he skipped the cutscene and immediately jump attacked, and that saves about like a second and a half or so probably.
Yep, Twilight Princess is pretty much full of those. Some of them save more or less time. There's one in Fair and Twilight that we'll have that I think saves several seconds if you get it. It's a really slow animation.
So here he's been timing his dashes so that he dashes off the very edge of a ledge, which also does the dash cancel. If you immediately dash into like a jump like that, you'll immediately have a dash again when you hit the ground.
It looks like he did get that last framer.
Yep. And that goes a lot better than it does sometimes. Sometimes those card rocks really just get in your way, make it really hard to enter that area. That wasn't too bad. All right. next up, we're going to be doing a trick called sword and shield skip, and I'll let Madeline explain that one.
Sure. Yeah, this trick is kind of notorious. It scares people away from speedrunning Twilight Princess sometimes, but it's not that bad. It's pretty hard, though. It takes a lot of time to learn it. Basically, we want to get into Farron, but Minna is like, no, you do not go into Farron until you have the sword and the shield. Now, if you have a keen eye, you may see the sword and the shield currently on our back. So you may wonder why we have to do this at all. Well, they may be on our back, but they are not in our inventory. We only have them because we did Back in Time earlier. And Back in Time equips the items, but they do not appear in your inventory, so Minna thinks you don't have them at all. So...
yeah, and also the relevant story flags in Orden haven't been set.
Yeah. So we're basically luring this Boblin over here. We named him Hugo, and we're going to get him into a very precise spot, and then we're going to attack him, send him flying in the air with that attack, and then attack him again while he's flying in the air. And because he is so high up above us, when you're targeting something much higher than you, the speed of your jump attack gets raised by a lot. It's a tech called a long jump attack. So we'll be jumping over the trigger where Minna sends us back because we don't have the sword and the shield, and we'll be instead hitting an air trigger that lets us into the Twilight, as he just did first try. That was very fast, actually.
Yep,
that was
nice,
really good.
Very nice. Yep. To answer the chat question, in this case, this is not a full game speedrun. The full game takes around 3 hours, which is more time than we have. In this category, we're just trying to beat Goron Mines. That's usually the second dungeon, although the only dungeon that we will finish.
Yeah, there is a little bit of RNG with Hugo, but it wasn't too bad. There's some RNG with where he spawns and which direction he's looking, as well as when he's doing his attacking animation. So as you can see, the hardest part of the trick wasn't actually the jump attack itself. The hardest part was pushing Hugo into the right spot. It's kind of unintuitive, but you kind of get a feel for it over time. So yeah, that one didn't go too bad, so I'm grateful for that. I'm going to do this scripted fight where you have a scripted failure. You can actually beat this fight even though you're supposed to lose it one time, but that soft locks you, so I'm not going to be doing that.
Yep, that would prevent us from running the Minna charge attack, which I think technically wouldn't be required to finish this category, but we're going to need it for a glitch later.
Also skipping the fight, it's kind of slow.
Yeah. It's faster than doing the fight, but we'd lose time elsewhere. Anyways, now we're going to talk to the Light Spirit Farron and master a bunch of dialogue.
Once I get the map pop up, I'm going to press a button to close the map instead of pressing B repeatedly.
Crazy half-second time saves all over the place.
I mean, that's how the game is. Nice double B attack. Nice.
He's not going to affect the tears.
That's way harder than it looks.
Yeah, so I didn't actually
Tagging that bug with the charge can be annoying.
I didn't end up getting the tears there. And that is because if I try to get them right away, it wouldn't work. Because there is about 3 seconds before the tears become collectible. So it's actually faster to get them a little bit later. And if I turn off senses right before killing those bugs, usually a cutscene where Poro is like, oh, where'd the bugs go? Plays. But turn off the senses at just the right time. Doesn't play.
Nice ledge grab. Yep, and we're just going to side hop down and grab that tier because we won't be coming back to this area.
Yep. And you can actually skip that gate with a gate clip, but it's pretty precise and it barely saves time if it goes really well.
Yep, you can see that in high-level Master Sword RTA speedruns, because that's short enough that people do optimize to that level.
You can also dash before that dig spot, but it is not worth it. You will bonk like every time.
Yeah.
Saves 1 frame if you do it perfectly.
Nice first frame dash out of the dig spot.
Just like with the Minna jumps.
Another 1 framer here.
1 frame after a dig spot.
It skips a short animation of Minna landing and being like, oh no. Yeah, that bug can be uncooperative.
Nice. There's another 1 framer right there you just got.
Yeah, that's the big one, because Minna moves a long distance on that first jump. Should be able to tag all 3 of these bugs with the same charge here. Some runners will actually try to push the bugs closer to each other to save a tiny bit of time, but it's fiddly.
Yeah, and even if you get here pretty fast, you usually still have to wait for this swinging log cycle. Like, I got a good lineup though. And you're gonna see 2 bugs here. I'm actually gonna ignore these bugs because they dig underground. Oops. Oh, Forest Temple ahead. Oh, that's where it is.
NDTP
Forest Temple.
Yep. All right, now I'm gonna be doing a trick called Early Master Sword.
You'll never guess what that does.
Yeah.
So when the Shadow Beast here raises his hand, we can target a spot that's pretty high above us and jump up onto this ledge. And it just so happens that out of bounds over here, well, it's actually inbounds because it's just the Sacred Grove is always loaded in Faron Woods right there.
Now it's just a cozy exploration game where we run through the countryside.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
With lots of movement tech.
Yeah, you saw Bonanza actually did that on the side that's closer to the entrance to the North Faron Arena there, which is a little faster but a little more difficult.
Grove is about mostly taking good lines. There's a couple of specific time saves in it, but Grove is usually pretty consistent. You're just there's a quick climb there. If you climb at a certain angle, you'll kind of clip out of bounds during the animation, and it will skip the climbing animation.
Yep.
Then there's another dash cancel here. Good. Or do you normally be attack on the ground there?
Yeah, I normally don't dash cancel there. It might be faster. I'm pretty sure the task just dashes though, if I remember correctly.
Interesting.
So I just copy that, yeah. And I'm gonna go over the water over here, and then right here, I'm gonna attack him from a very specific position, or end up at a specific position such that when I dash off this ledge, I am not actually gonna land in the water. I'm gonna go straight in the land if I time it right. Like that.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, one other thing to mention is that the route we take through Faron Woods actually really changes between different routes and different categories. Sometimes, in a glitchless run, you'd actually be getting all of the tiers on the first pass. Some other categories don't have to beat Faron Twilight at all. They use some other glitches to escape Faron Twilight. In this case, we actually don't really need to do Faron Twilight except to set up one trick that we'll do later.
So he just attacked that guy, Skullhead, at a specific angle so that he can land on the ground during this cutscene, and that saves time after the cutscene from getting down there.
Yeah, usually you're just at the top and you have to walk off and grab the ledge. But since you're midair, it doesn't stop your momentum. So I just fall all the way to the ground, save 2 seconds.
Yep, and we can skip that cutscene to get an early hit on Skullkid.
Yep. And then, so Skullkid blows his horn, but he doesn't do that until I've killed at least one puppet. So I'm going to kill a puppet as fast as I can, and then about 5 seconds after the puppet explodes, which is RNG, which is how fast it takes after killing the puppet. Kind of a strange thing for that's RNG, but it is RNG. And I'm going to keep doing that one more time. I will be needing rupees, so I'll try to be getting greens where I can. Yeah, Sacred Grove is one of the more consistent splits in this category. Coming up, we'll have some more difficult stuff. Hopefully I can hold it together.
Yep. I'm sure all of you know that there are 20 rupees in the stake spot. We will, I believe, need 100 in total.
Lady Damsha does not forget Zelda's Lullaby. Nice.
I would never.
Funny thing about this puzzle is that it's a mirror image, so that there's 2 solutions that are optimal, and you can just mirror every left-right input, which is convenient for Wii players because when they switch between Wii and GameCube, they can just do the same inputs.
Or you can be like me and pick going left or right depending on how you feel every run.
Yeah,
you can also see on the jumps there are 2 frames to input the sense button, which does nothing.
It definitely does
Kinda looks
swag.
Does do that. Yeah, I didn't get all 12, unfortunately. Oh, I missed another one.
All 12 is just legendary. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone do it live.
I've gone it
Anno
once.
probably
Done it
has.
once. All right.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 12 run, I believe.
Hopefully he doesn't dash past the Master Sword here. Many people do this. Oh, I should not have said anything.
Oh, no. Masorda.
That's my bad,
Masorda.
Badamja. That's my bad.
Yeah, we have a name for that. It's called Masorda, and Madeline manifested it by saying that.
Yeah, my bad. My bad.
Anyways, we have, I believe this is the only really long cutscene of the Goron Mines RTA run.
Yes,
It is one of the longest cutscenes, one of the longest unskippable cutscenes in the game. It's like a couple minutes.
Yeah, so having the Master Sword early is, one, the damage will be very useful. But the main reason we get this is for the ability to transform and warp. That's going to be very useful for a few things coming up here.
An interesting thing about this cutscene is it's using a wide variety of glitches. It's actually possible to get to the Master Sword while Link is still wearing the Orden clothes, like as human. And unfortunately, if you pull the Master Sword in that state, the game will crash because it tries to put Link in the hero's clothes here, and changing, for whatever reason, the game just can't handle changing Link's outfit before he has unlocked the hero's clothes. Normally, you'd be coming here right after beating Lakebed Temple, and you'd be wearing the Zora armor, but the devs were like, it looks bad if Link is in the fish suit during this, central plot important cutscene, so they, do something about that. Unfortunately, that every now and again, somebody will come to the Discord with some neat extended category routing idea, and we have to explain to them that no, the Master Sword Orden Clothes crash breaks that. However, in the Moon Jump run, which uses a cheat code to allow Link to jump whenever he wants, we pick up the Master Sword as human, but with the hero's clothes, which makes the cutscene look silly. You should look it up if you have the time.
Yeah, so now once we have the Master Sword, we're going to warp back to Farron, and now we're going to collect these tiers that we didn't get the first time. And we're going to collect all of the tiers except for the last two, because we're going to want to collect those last two later, and are instead going to enter Forest Temple.
Yep, when we pick up the last two tiers, it will actually warp us back to the start of Farron Woods. Obviously, we're going to the Forest Temple right now. We don't want to be warped back to the start of Farron Woods. We'll do that later when it's convenient for us.
We're only here for one thing.
Yep. And it's definitely the thing that you think it is.
The one framer.
Yep. No one frame dash there. We did get that little animation of Minna landing on Link's back.
Yeah.
So since we have the Master Sword, we can transform here.
Yep.
And
usually you're supposed to get the monkey. The monkey takes your lantern, and then you have to wait for the monkey to escort you through this purple mist. But like Morgan was saying, since we have the Master Sword, we can just transform and then get through it ourselves.
Yep, and that's useful because the monkey wouldn't otherwise appear until we complete the Twilight. 10 rupees behind the sign here.
Can you guess what we need in the Forest Temple? You probably can't.
What we need in the Forest Temple is 5 rupees.
I don't actually need this portal. So I'm going to do the same trick as before. It gives me a good swing.
Nice.
Yep, that's just a little faster than defeating the Shadow Beasts normally. Technically, I think it still saves time in the normal any % route, but most people don't go for it because it saves a very small amount of time.
Does need the portal.
Yeah, the Wii route needs it.
It's not the boomerang, and it's not a heart piece.
As you can see, I went into first person before transforming there, and that just saves about 8 frames on the camera. Because otherwise,
Yeah, probably many of you are familiar with the importance of the boomerang in GameCube full game speedruns, but because it allows you to do boomerang long jump attacks, and you break the game in a wide variety of ways, but you can't do those on Wii. It's a GameCube exclusive glitch, and that this route doesn't actually really have any LJs that would save time. Technically, if you get the boomerang on doing this route on GameCube, it can make a couple things easier, but it loses more time than it saves. Getting the boomerang takes several minutes.
Ooh, that is unlucky.
Unfortunately, bad luck from the spider there.
Luckily, Nancy was not too mean about it.
Yeah. It can go a lot worse than that.
Yeah, we call her
sometimes
Nancy. She will kill your run. Be wary of her.
Sometimes that spider can be uncooperative. You have to like lure it down to the point where you can hit it with the wolf jump attack. Normally at this point in the game, you're supposed to have the slingshot, but we skipped that by doing back in time at the start of the run. Anyways, we just have to go out here for a second to move some flags around and let us get to the other side of Forest Temple. It's about to say the east wing, but not on Wii. It's the west wing.
A nice
woodpecker.
Woodpecker.
Yeah, if you jump attack into that cutscene in the right way, the funny thing happens.
Fun fact about that cutscene: Link's head detaches from his body for like a frame.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, here's the item that we needed from the Forest Temple. It's of course Uku.
Yep.
And a blue ruby 5.
Most important item. Yep.
Uku will let us leave this dungeon and return later, which is definitely a thing that we're doing just because we need to return to the Forest Temple and for no other reason.
Surely.
All right. You might be wondering why we're completing Fair and Twilight in the first place. And that is because of a trick called Back in Time Equipped, which I'll let Morgan explain.
Yep, we'll get to that in a minute. First off, Link E.
True.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to finish a Twilight as human, so the game tries to put the wolf animation on Link's body, and it doesn't work very well.
It's more of a Link 3.
So yeah, now we have to go to Kakariko Village, and we have a pretty easy way of going to Kakariko Village. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We're going to save here. That's important.
Yep. I'm not going to reset right after saving because that is part of the precautions to avoid crashing here. Because usually you're going to, if you press A on the title screen on Wii, you crash. But for whatever reason, doing that and then waiting a little bit there doesn't crash the game.
Yep, and now we're going to do Back in Time again. You can see he's loaded a previous save that's just set up right here. Actually, I think it was the same save. Anyways, we're now on the title screen, and we're going to jump off and pull up the file select screen at the same time. We didn't do that last time. But now when we load our save, we have all of the same items, inventory, story flags, whatever, but it wrong warps us into the first King Bulblin fight in Eldenfield. And now we just fight King Bulblin, which, always goes fine.
Actually ended up getting good RNG there, luckily, but I did mess up one of the slashes.
Yeah, that can go so much worse. That fight is stupid. And I assume we're gonna do the fast strat here. Yep. Gonna get opponent halfway across and turn around and be able to hopefully get 2 hits on King Bulblin and finish the second phase quickly.
Too bad.
And once we're done with that, now we are in Kakariko Village with all our stuff.
Right, and we're in a weird Twilight state because the game didn't load this area properly. In a lot of categories, you would see people either voiding out or going into your door and going back in. We're actually not going to be needing to be here anyways. So we're just going to go ahead and go to the Death Mountain.
I'm back. I manifested my internet crashing by talking about it earlier.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was very careful. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, you could see, well, you couldn't really see, but one thing there is Badamja has to be very careful to avoid riding Epona into that loading zone. Epona is not really supposed to be there in the Twilights. I'm kind of unclear on why she gets to be there after the, in the state after fighting King Bulblin. But if we tried to load Epona in this map, the game would crash, which obviously would be a time loss.
And I have gotten very close to that. I've gotten so close that Link was like falling off of Epona while entering the load zone.
Yeah, I saw that. On GameCube, you would actually do a trick called an Epona slide to get into that loading zone a tiny bit faster, which looks very cool, but fortunately not possible on the Wii version.
Technically, not messing.
Okay, technically it is, but not in that context.
Yeah.
There is a way to do it on Wii, but it's stupid. Anyways, that's another portal that we'll never use. I'm wrong, we do use that portal.
Yeah, we will use that one. Which is actually the only reason we went there for now, is just to get that portal. We will be coming back there. And now we're going to do a frame perfect trick called qwertyquerty, and I'll let Madeline explain what that is.
Yeah, so basically, when you're talking to Koro, and he gives you the bottle, there is one frame where you can input something between like him talking and him giving you the bottle, I believe. And during that one frame, we're gonna use Uku to like get out of there with the bottle before he keeps on talking anymore, because we need to cut him off in the middle of his dialogue, because that dialogue is saved to a variable that is used for other things, including other people's dialogue. And this will basically allow us to skip certain dialogue from a different character.
Very nice first try, qwertyquerty.
It's frame perfect, and
the reason
uses something called text displacement. That's the name of the technique.
The reason we need to do this is because since we got the Master Sword, the room before Goron Mines, where you normally wrestle with Goron to be allowed in, is like in a weird state, and you can't actually get into Goron Mines the usual way. There previously were a few ways to get around this. If you get the spinner, you can use that to get into Goron Mines, but obviously that takes a long time. So if you aren't getting it already, you wouldn't like to do that. Some very early routes would actually do a route called fixed EMS, where you would do early Master Sword, go through the Grove all the way up to the Master Sword to open the path, and then actually go back out and come back later as human once you had already opened Goron Mines.
So we're going to use the dialogue progression from Koro and apply it to Goron. And he's just going to let us in because we brought it past the part where he doesn't let us in.
Yep, and you just saw Badamja do a clip there to get into this area early. This is the elevator up to Goron Mines.
A nice little out of bounds clip there. Normally you're supposed to complete the Twilight and then get up here with using the Gorons to hoist you up. But with accessing this elevator from the back, this didn't used to be useful because you couldn't clip out of here, but relatively recently, there was a trick discovered called Elevator Escape.
Nice.
Looks like I got it.
Very nice, very nice.
It's frame perfect.
Yep,
Yeah.
and we'll just talk to Goron a couple times and he will let us in because of text displacement. Yeah, that sequence is what really changed a lot of the early game routing, actually, because you saw he needed to put the iron boots on to press that switch and go up the elevator. Previously, we would get into Goron Mines with Bow text displacement, where we'd use the fact that Bow's cutscene at the start was a little broken, and actually delay getting the iron boots until we had already opened up Goron Mines. We would talk to Bow 4 to 6 times to set the text displacement state, because you can just walk back out of that dialogue anytime you like, which isn't supposed to happen. But then we wouldn't have had the iron boots at this point to go up. This lets us save a lot of backtracking. Anyways, but I'm just doing some iframe abuse here to get past these flame jets. Saves a few seconds.
Nice.
I love watching Link walk through fire.
Yeah, he's good at it.
You maybe notice me putting away my sword before doors when I can, because if I have my sword pulled out in this dungeon and I open a door, it does take a little bit extra time to put it away, so might as well put it away first.
And then I think we can just let this one speak for itself.
Risky but time saver.
There we go.
Nice.
And there we go. That is skipped about 2.5 minutes of complete nonsense.
Wow, nice.
That is a very recent discovery. Shoutouts to the Wildebeest, among others. And an interesting thing about that trick is that it actually is what evens up the GameCube and Wii routes for this, because we've skipped several rooms, including one where you have to do a lot of walking on a ceiling with iron boots. There's a trick that Wii can use to do that much faster than GameCube can, which is now irrelevant. But yeah, very clean kitty jump, or kitty climb as we call it.
Gonna get this
Anyway, it's just
in
gonna-
water.
Yep.
Then you're supposed to do the sequence where you go up and then end up hitting this crystal switch, but we actually won't be needing to do that. Hopefully I can demonstrate why.
Yep, you're not supposed to be able to be wolf here.
Nice.
And that's why.
Yeah, that part is a little sketchy because if you take too long, like I almost did, then the Tektites will start attacking you.
The funny thing is that if we had the jump strike hidden skill here, we could use it to just kind of glide all the way up along that wall. Anyways, instead of cutting the bridge down, we're going to get this pot. And we're going to jump.
Hot jump.
And that's
go.
the pot jump.
Yep. And that saves 1 second, by the way. And the reason it saves time is because otherwise you would have to watch the long cutscene of the bridge falling down, but yeah, it will be necessary. I'm gonna go over here and get this small key. And this chest being open is also gonna help us a bit later.
Yep, we're going to do some more out of bounds nonsense. Anyways, one of the things that was in that section of rooms that we skipped with Kitty Climb is the first key shard. The boss key to Goron Mines is split into 3 pieces for safekeeping. And we're going to skip the second one too. Turns out that the game actually only checks for the last one, since you're supposed to be able to, you're not supposed to be able to avoid getting them.
This is a very hard trick.
This trick is
very
this trick
angle
is
precise.
dumb.
It's like frame perfect as well for the jump.
Yep. A lot of frame perfect tricks in this category.
There it is.
There we go.
Not too bad. Kind of a risky but kind of cool jump there.
Yep,
I'm going to
and
be doing sword combos to go across the magnet wall. It's a little bit faster than walking.
yep, though kind of fiddly because of the directions you have to hold on the control stick aren't totally obvious. In this game, when you attack, you can do directional attacks, but the directions are like relative to where Link is facing, not necessarily the camera, which can be non-intuitive. Anyways, set up here to get a faster hit on Dangoro. You can actually fall off the ledge during that animation, and that makes it count for 2. And unfortunately, didn't get the quick spin attack, but no, did get the quick spin attack. I'm right.
A pretty good Dangoro fight.
Slightly dubious means of fighting Dangoro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably how the developers intended you to do it.
If I was playing the HD version, you can actually do that with quick transform. Quick transform and Dangoro just falls through the floor. Fortunately, we didn't get to see that.
Does that work in randomizer? I think it also works in randomizer.
I don't know.
If it doesn't, Lunar should mod that in because it would be funny. Anyways, we can now get our 4th item of the run, the bow.
But why do we need that?
We actually need it because there's no other way to get the bridge down. Yep, lantern. Yeah, one slightly disappointing thing about the new route is that we end up with 5 items at the end of it. Previous Goron Mines RTA routes only did 3.
Exponentially increased rate of like mistaken equips.
Unfortunately missed the quick shot on the BMOS there. There we go.
And this BMOS only stays pulled if you pull it 4 times. I'm going to be doing that.
Like most things you pull in this game.
Some runners prefer to push it twice on each direction, but I think pulling it 4 times is what most people do these days. Anyways, we've collected all 3 key shards, definitely.
Totally. Definitely not just the 3rd one. That's kind of a common theme with this game.
Zelda games in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only check for the last one.
Yeah, the same sort of thing comes up in other parts of the full game run. And as we're actually backtracking here, the boss in Goron Mines is kind of in a weird place, and this is actually the fastest way to get to him. And you can target Dangoro from anywhere in this room, which is silly.
Yeah.
It makes it very easy to talk to him by mistake, which we like to not do.
You noticed I was slashing there. That was to make it so I didn't talk to him when I pressed A so that I could roll.
Yep, we're just going to jump down here.
Yeah, if I jump attack right before hitting the water, also saves a few frames, a little further.
On GameCube, if we were doing a full game, or like an all dungeons run, you'd probably do an LJA there, but obviously we can't do that for a variety of reasons.
Oops.
And it's going to get these Boblins out of the way so they don't cause us trouble later.
And also so they don't start a cutscene when I go through here. Now I'm going to jump onto this chest with the iron boots, get angle myself a certain way, then do a jump attack and force unequip them by flipping an item over them. And I'll be able to get on this little collision. And I can go over here, jump over this railing, go over here, run past these barrels. Oh, all right, not too bad. And yeah, that skips killing a Venus, saves just under 7 seconds, I believe.
Yep, and that's actually only possible on the Wii version. Various types of moon boots are possible on any version of TP, but that specific application is only possible on Wii. Basically, the earlier you pull the item wheel, the more height you get on your moon boots, and Wii can pull the item wheel 1 frame earlier than GameCube can, just because of how the input processing works. And unfortunately missed the snipe to shoot the bridge down.
Yeah, unfortunate.
A fun fact about this room is that one of the Boblins actually spawns slightly clipped into the floor, so he just immediately dies when the room loads.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's why you have us. And we are finally to the end. This is the last boss of Goron Mines, and once we beat him, the run is over.
So just like normal, I'm going to shoot him in the face and then grab the chain and pull him back. And you're supposed to do that 3 times, but I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different, hopefully, if I get the tricks. Save a little bit of time. Anyways, I'm going to go under his shoulder, and we'll stab him. I'm going to grab the chain again. That's just the wrong chain. Grab this chain. Just at the right time. Hopefully this is far back enough. See if this works.
Okay. Another fairly recent discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I did there was I grabbed the chain at a very specific time. And what that does is it makes it so that you don't have to shoot him in the head again. So I can kind of just repeat that again. Hopefully I get it. Right when his right arm starts going up, pretty much like that.
Nice.
Even though it looks like the chain got flung away from me, I was still able to grab it. And yeah. Only unfortunate thing about this category is that we don't have ending blow. We can't do the funny fire strat where we jump through him.
Yep, and now we'll just have to watch a long cutscene.
Yep, that'll do it. We've defeated the boss of Goron Mines, and timing will stop upon saying yes to Midna when we hit the exit portal. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. My name is Badamsha, and thanks to my commentators, and also thank you, Dayton and the GDQ team for having me on. Appreciate it very much.
Of course, this was absolutely wonderful, and my gosh, you're so good at this game. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Badamsha is cracked. He's gotten so good recently.
This is a pretty good run as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, GG's. If you'd like the time, it'll come in just a sec here.
Yep. It'll be about 30 seconds or so, less.
Yeah, this cutscene takes forever. I always forget that. Anyways, timing will stop when he says yes to the dialogue prompt here.
Yeah, fun fact, I actually didn't know that one time. And I wasted 3 minutes just sitting there at the portal.
I forgot that there's even more cutscene. There we go. And time.
There you go.
GG.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Yeah, very nice run.
Appreciate it. Yeah, not a bad run. This can go a lot worse because of mainly because of core TD.
Yeah, the problem with core OTD is you can only do it once, because if you can't buy the bottle again, so he would have to have reloaded that save, which loses like 45 seconds or something every time you do that.
Drone is about a minute off world record, which is pretty good.